Because these days, you gotta have a sequel. Hello, one and all. Welcome back to the Mind's Eye Inquisition. I am your horror host, Inkarnate, and I've got what I believe is an interesting ranking. Perfect timing considering that we just had the release of Scream 7, which, by the way, not a fan. Gotta be honest. But I came across this ranking by Bloody Disgusting, and usually I wouldn't pay it no mind. Like, crazy, I don't know, maybe it's because I have my own mind made up that I usually avoid these types of articles. Just, I don't know, not my cup of tea. They never really interest me, which I never really noticed until reading through this article. I'm like, wow, whenever I see these postings anywhere, not just Bloody Disgusting, but on any format, any Reddit, what have you, Twitter, it never catches my eye because I'm just like, I already know which ones I like, so screw y'all. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. But I was genuinely impressed. First off, last month, it was the Fearography of Alice Krieg, my live stream where I did a reaction video to Bloody Disgusting's article going through the career of Alice Krieg, who you would know as Christabella from Silent Hill, as well as the Borg Queen, and other horror films that she's been in. So this month, it is the Scream Film Rankings. Now, like I said, normally, I'm not really invested in the rankings of others, especially within franchises. For instance, they're like, I really don't care about anyone's Halloween ranking because to me, it's the first movie and nothing else. I don't care if that's controversial. It's just, oh man, that franchise has been beaten into the ground. But regardless, when I took a look at Bloody Disgusting's article, there were a few things that I found interesting that I'll be discussing in this live reaction video. So again, I give credit where it's due. I'm not always the biggest fan of the articles that come out for one Bloody Disgusting, but I wanted to take the time out to go over this one, just this particular article, just because I found their own worst to best list interesting, which I'll get into once we hop into the article. And I have a couple of my own insights, especially when it comes to the common thread I've discovered with the even numbered sequels. Now then, there are certain rules one must follow in order to survive a horror franchise ranking. Number one, take to the comments to tell me how smart I am, and by all means, give me your own ranking. Number two, stab that like button and slash the subscribe so I can stack up my own body count. Number three, tell me which you were more excited for, Scream 7 or the upcoming Scary Movie 6. Number four, if you're going to talk about Scream 7, try to keep it spoiler free, just for the benefit of others. Number five, while I'll run the whole entire ranking, my main commentary will be mostly on Screams 2, 4, and 6. So, let's say we jump right in. Just want to make sure that the text is visible enough. So let me blow this up some. And make sure that it's coming through on the live stream. One moment. So, Bloody Disgusting's definitive ranking of all 7 movies in the Scream franchise. Let's take a look. So, with Scream 7 now playing in theaters, we figured it was time to put together the ultimate and definitive ranking of the entire Scream franchise, but that simply wouldn't be possible by just polling members of the Bloody Disgusting team. That would be our ranking rather than your ranking. And it had it could hardly be considered definitive with a handful of people taking part. So, instead, we opened it up to you, the readers of Bloody Disgusting. For the past week, we've been asking you to submit your personal ranking of all 7 Scream movies using a simple drag and drop form we created. And we're thrilled to report that over 3,000 of you took part. We now feel comfortable saying that the data we have We now feel comfortable saying that the data we have okay, this is written wrong. The data we have our hands allows us to create a truly definitive ranking of the Scream saga, from Wes Craven's original slasher classic straight through to Neve Campbell's return as Sidney Prescott in the polarizing latest installment. Every individual ranking we received from February 27th to March 4th has been collected together to form one list that combines all together, and we now present that to you. Read on for Bloody Disgusting's ultimate Scream franchise ranking. Bloody Disgusting's ultimate Scream franchise ranking is presented by G Fuels, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Getting the promotional aspects out of the way. So starting at the very bottom, we have Scream 7. Oof. The article reads, well, we did say Scream 7 was proving to be quite polarizing. Original Scream writer Kevin Williamson's first time directing a Scream movie just achieved the highest box office opening weekend in the franchise's history, but it's also the franchise's lowest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes at just 31%. After tabulating over 3,000 franchise rankings submitted by the readers of Bloody Disgusting, Scream 7 has been clearly selected as the least favorite of the bunch. The behind-the-scenes issues that plagued Scream 7 were numerous, with the firing of Melissa Barrera and the exit of Jenna Ortega leading to a last-minute franchise overhaul that returned the focus back to Neve Campbell's Sidney Prescott. It's not the movie it was originally intended to be, and while it's proving to be a monster hit at the box office, the largely negative reviews are impossible to deny. Here is hoping the eventual Scream 8 course corrects the ship. Now, very briefly, I have already touched on my thoughts on Scream 7, which I would invite you to take a gander at my Scream 7 precaution and aftershock. My precaution is my movie preview, my aftershock is my reaction video. I didn't have high hopes for it going in. Look, I'm a fan of Neve Campbell. I'm glad she got paid what she deserved. And she had her return. I'm glad that the film focused on her. It's funny that Scream 5 was trying to pass the baton to a new generation, and by Scream 7, it's like, nah, seriously, we're going back to what actually works and what people actually care about. But, look, and I didn't speak about the controversy of who exited and why. I didn't speak on that in my coverage, whether in my movie preview or in my reaction video. I don't care. I was judging Scream 7 based off of its own merits, and it ain't any good. So I hate to break it to anybody here. You can try to defend that movie all you want and try to claim that people. It's always the case that people say, you're just. They were just bombarding the Rotten Tomatoes scores with. They were review bombing. It's like, dude, that's become such a cop out lately. Scream 7 is not a good movie. It's not a good plot. The reveals are stupid. Both the ones at the midway point and towards the end. It keeps a lot of the bad precedents set by the former 2 movies. So it's only by now, this late in this second trilogy, that people are noticing the faults in these stories. Moving on. So now we're at Scream 6. The biggest surprise on this list may very well be Scream 6 ranking so low, coming in at number 6. Unlike Scream 7, Scream 6 has a 77 fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is actually the third highest Rotten Tomatoes score for the entire franchise. Directed by Radio Silence, Scream 6 is notably the only installment in the franchise not to feature Neve Campbell, with the focus being placed entirely on the newly minted Core 4. Scream fans generally seemed to respond quite well to this one back in 2023, but perhaps time has dulled that passion a bit. Remember that. One of the biggest downsides of Scream 6 was the weak Ghostface reveal, and it's also possible that many fans have soured on the film due to the absence of Neve Campbell. That's a cop-out. No matter how you slice it, Scream 6 has been selected as the second weakest installment, with this list suggesting that the franchise has lost some of its mojo, really, in the past few years. Then again, we've had the same conversation before. So, here's where I chime in with my thoughts on the first of the even-numbered sequels in this list. I was shocked that people finally recognized that this movie isn't any good, that it ranks so low in this film's ranking. And not only was this marked so low on the list, but my God, as I just said, finally, we can now have an honest conversation over how bad this movie was. But even in this, even in Bloody Disgusting's coverage of what people had a problem with, even that is shallow and not really landing, not hitting the points that it should. And don't get me wrong, I predicted that if Scream 5 was The Force Awakens, especially with the praising and glazing of requels, then Scream 6 was destined to be its Last Jedi. And here's something else that's funny that Bloody Disgusting didn't mention. They themselves ranked this sequel a perfect 5 skulls. And I wanted to make sure I looked this up before I came on, and let's take a gander at that. Let's just see what Bloody Disgusting themselves ranked this as way back when. That would be a whoopsie. A perfect score, a game changer for Lego sequels. It's like, dude, get out of my face with this. And I understand that this ultimate ranking that we're looking at has to do more with the rankings of fans, but it's like, bruh, come on. Scream 6. And again, this article it barely skims the surface of what exactly it was that was wrong with that entry. And they're talking about how Bloody Disgusting goes on to mention how, perhaps time has dulled that passion a bit. I'm sorry, come again? Time has dulled that passion? Bro, Scream 6 came out 3 years ago. You're telling me in 3 years, this went from the highest grossing, one of the highest, what do you call it? One of the highest critically acclaimed films and sequels in the franchise. Oh, the third best of the franchise. You're telling me in 3 years' time, people just and please, again, saying that it's Neve Campbell's absence, I'm not saying that she's not important to the franchise. Absolutely. But it's not that this was a perfect movie. It was just missing her. No, it's not a good movie. I mean, yeah, they mentioned the killer reveal, but bruh, what this article also mentions is that the baton was passed from Sidney Prescott's story to the Core 4. The Core 4 suck. I mean, in addition to that, you had the running plot of will she, won't she, with Billy's daughter, the lack of chemistry between the characters, the explanation of the rules, the lame comedy, the forgettable characters that the film introduces, the shrine, the mishandled return of Kirby, the mockery of mortal wounds. Oh my god. I believe the title of the pseudo review that I did, it was more my reaction and overall impressions of Scream 6. Please check out that video. I believe I refer to it as Scream 6 Requiem for a Scream. Oh my, this franchise was just, I mean, this installment was just so much of a nothing burger. And it was the perfect sequel to Scream 5. It's just nothing's going on. It's got there's no intrigue whatsoever. And again, these people want to portray this entry as though, oh, you know, it was great. It just didn't have Nev Camp. No. That's a complete farce. They do nothing with the New York change of venue. Nothing. And I'm sorry, but generally speak, like, there's a reason why slasher movies, by and large, don't take place in big cities. And one would think that being so condensed and in such a populated area and people just not caring about you as an individual because they have their own problems to deal with, trust me, neither slashers nor these latest Scream movies are even smart enough to incorporate that. There's nothing under the hood with these. So I, for one, I'm glad that people have finally caught on, because I was saying it since day one. Scream 5, 6, and now 7, they're not good movies, and it took 3 installments of these for people to finally catch on. Let's keep going with the list. So, at the number 5 spot, we have Scream 3. This is an obvious one. I've never met anyone that likes or can champion Scream 3. The article reads, in any year other than 2026, most fans probably would have agreed that Wes Craven's Scream 3 was the weakest installment, so it's certainly no surprise to see it ranked so low on this list. It also has the saga's second lowest Rotten Tomatoes score, with a rotten 45%, indicating that Scream 3 has been the black sheep of the franchise dating back to its release in 2000. The first installment not to be written by Kevin Williamson, Aaron Kruger took over for this one. Scream 3 leaned into the meta approach of the franchise, with Sidney and the gang heading off to Hollywood during the filming of Stab 3, the third installment in the in-universe film franchise based on the Woodsboro murders. As we wrote here on Bloody Disgusting back in 2020, Scream 3 may be the most maligned sequel, but it's still a fun Scooby-style slasher. No, it isn't. Personally speaking, I agree with that take. Yeah, I mean, what can you honestly say about Scream 3? It really did become a parody of itself, and choosing to take the franchise in the direction of a change of venue to Hollywood, that wasn't a bad idea, because there is something there where you can tap into a little bit of the nostalgia, where you're building sets for a horror movie within a horror movie, and they would have callbacks to the original Scream, but not too heavy-handed, and not to go crazy with meta and all that crap, breaking the fourth wall. There is something there, and talking about how these movies get made, not so much the politics behind it, because I don't think that's what Scream ought to be, and don't deal with the origin story of Sidney's mother. That was just so pointless. But there is something there. It was just that they had a lot of time to write this story, and it just wasn't good. You need, pardon the pun, but you need a hook, and they didn't have a strong enough one. And the killer reveal the characters that they introduced that are like nothing burgers, they're just there to pad out the kill count. The Scream 3 could have been something. It was just neutered and it just was very watered down. So skip. Now we come to what started this latest trilogy. And again, I was shocked that Scream 5 was voted so low, because remember, this is what has kicked off the latest wave of Scream movies, to the point that we got an entire trilogy within 4 years, which mirrors the original trilogy. I didn't even realize that until now. So, Scream 2022. This would be Scream 5. The Scream film franchise had been dormant for 11 years when Scream 5 came along, and it was dauntingly the first installment to be mounted in the wake of Wes Craven's passing. The filmmaking team, known as Radio Silence, took the helm for the legacy sequel, God, I hate that phrase, which brought back the original trilogy's leading characters and mixed them together with a new batch of leads that would soon become known as the Core 4, Cringe. Tackling toxic fandom, oh man, among other things, Scream 5 had something new to say, none of it good, and it successfully revived the franchise that was seemingly without its captain. It ended up becoming a huge hit at the box office and earning rave reviews from fans and critics, revitalizing the brand for a new generation of horror fans. Debatable. Whether you'd prefer the franchise focus on Sydney and the original gang, or Sam and her friend group, Scream 2022 managed to satisfy both camps. Again, debatable. So, it comes as no big surprise that the readers of Bloody Disgusting are in agreement about it being one of the better Scream films. Are they? Because this is voted in, like, the middle. It's the best of the worst. Like, what are you talking about? And this isn't the first time I've heard that. Like, oh, we united all Scream fans. It's like, okay. But you can't top a Scream movie directed by Wes Craven, as we'll soon see. You can't top a Scream movie directed by Wes Craven. That's funny. You ranked this one, which was the first one not directed by him, over Scream 3. Anyway, very briefly, I'd like to mention a couple of things wrong with this article. At the end of the first paragraph, where it mentions that it revitalized the brand for a new generation of horror fans, I hate to break it to people, but for a film, a franchise as questionably popular as Scream is, dude, nobody talks about it anymore. And you have to understand that Scream always had the problem of A, being a good movie, B, commenting on horror films, and C, the trap of the very first Scream movie, trying to be trendy. Because the first Scream movie managed to burst the bubble into mainstream, into pop culture, every Scream sequel afterwards had that trifecta balance that it had to shoulder throughout its runtime, throughout its existence. And it always put that pressure on itself, to the detriment, I would say, of story. It was trying too hard to be popular and kitschy and just cool for the kids, you know what I mean? And it often fell under its own weight. Pop culture references, I mean, we get enough of that with Marvel movies nowadays. And this was very much a problem in Scream 2022. To say that, I mean, did it land well with critics and fans? I guess. But it's one of those, like, fluff movies where, yeah, it earns a lot of money and people generally enjoy it, But dude, come on, man. Nobody was head over heels over the wooden acting of Melissa Barrera. Nobody was looking at Jenna Ortega as the new Scream Queen or anything like that. Think about how the first Scream movie is so quotable. All that this one could do, all that Scream 5 could do is blatantly rip off. It rips off entire scenes. It rips off settings. They do that thing of lamp shading where Sidney Prescott mentions how derivative this killer is. Oh, it's the same damn house. Like things like that. Yeah, this movie made a boatload of money, but the question really does need to be asked: how good is it? And again, Bloody Disgusting go on to talk about how the end of the second paragraph where it says, it's no big surprise that the readers of Bloody Disgusting are in agreement about it being one of the better Scream films. Dude, out of 7 movies, it's ranked 4th. That's middle of the road. Like, be serious with this. Like, how good can it be when it's not even at the top? It's in the middle. Like, what are you talking about? This is not a good movie, and it's not quotable. Whereas you have Scream Ghostface reveals that are just bad. Scream 3, Scream 6 and 7. The reveal of Scream of the Ghostface reveals of Scream 5 are just annoying. Like they were nothing characters before, and they become like hyper irritating after the fact. So to me, to try to pretend as though this was any good, and look, based off of the format of the very first Scream movie, which is absolutely a precedent that I'm allowed to compare all sequels to, because guess what? All sequels attempted to recapture the magic of the first movie. So the way that you do a proper Ghostface reveal, the audience has to have some kind of investment in the character who's going to be revealed to be the killer. They have to have investment in that character before the reveal. That way, when the reveal is shown who's under the mask, it's like a betrayal. You know what I mean? And then you have to be able to maintain or surpass that investment and keep that character interesting after the reveal. You don't get that with Scream 5. And God, when this article says, let me see if I could find where specifically it mentions this. The third sentence, tackling toxic fandom. Bruh, I'm hoping to do a live stream soon titled You Don't Hate Scream 5 Enough. But that'll be for a different day. This was not a good return for the franchise in the long run, in the long term or the short term. When you look at what it was that they were trying, what the message was, what commentary the writers and the filmmakers were trying to get across, and mind you, they were trying to get this message across to the same audience that they were ridiculing, but that is a topic for a different day. Let's keep going. And here we are. At the number 3 spot, Scream 4. The Scream film franchise had been dormant for 11 years when Scream 4 came along. Deja vu, anyone? And the big news there was that the franchise architects Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven were reuniting for this one. It sadly ended up being the final film directed by Craven, but he went out with a strong reminder of why he was one of the best in the game, providing ahead of its time commentary on social media fame and franchise legacy sequels. Oh God. Scream 4 had something fresh to say about the state of the horror genre and the world at large, and it's one installment that has become even more appreciated as the years have gone by. Amen. Scream 4 introduced the fresh characters like Kirby Reed and Jill Roberts that ended up becoming new franchise favorites, and it's also home to one of the franchise's all-time best Ghostface reveals. Thank you. The film, unfortunately, wasn't enough of a hit in theaters at the time to allow for Kevin Williamson to execute his own original plan of using it as a launchpad for a brand new trilogy. But Scream 4 will likely forever stand the test of time as one of the best Scream sequels. Now, as far as that second to last comment about Scream 4 serving as a launchpad for what Kevin Williamson had in mind for Screams 5 and 6, I asked for you to take a gander at my live stream. I did a reaction video to this premise, to this interview with Williamson, titled Scream 4, the Trilogy Non-Starter. Now then, I usually don't speak on how such and such film might have been a failure, but served as such and such director's preview for what was to come later in their career. What do I mean? I don't defend David Lynch's Alien 3 because we have gotten such repetitive minutia slogans that have come out of that, talking about how, well, what you saw in Alien 3 he would eventually explore in the movie 7. Hey, did you know that in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, those were the blueprints for what we would eventually get in meta commentary, fourth wall breaking Scream movie? I don't ever subscribe to that, because these films, by their individual directors, each of these movies are their own entity. Like, seriously, do a double feature one day of Wes Craven's New Nightmare and Scream. You're not gonna find that much in common. And same with Alien 3 and 7. People wouldn't even be able to articulate what ingredients you find in Alien 3 that David Lynch would go on to use in the movie 7. It's just like, what, you people are grasping at straws, and I for one really hate when people do that. Like, it's a really lame attempt to sound intelligent. But I'm sorry, I said David Lynch. I meant David Fincher was the director of Alien 3 and 7. But I really hate when people do that, because you try to sound smart and you wind up sounding stupid. Like, those have nothing in common. Moving on. What I will say about Scream 4 is that, not necessarily serving as a predictor of, or a prelude to what we would see later in later films from Wes Craven. No, Wes Craven was able to predict changes in culture and technology. What do I mean? He foresaw live streamers in everyday life vlogging nearly a decade before they appeared on the scene. He made Ghostface a content creator. Now, normally, that would be a punchline of a joke. If you got that out of Freddy or some other new age slasher, like that they were trying to get off the ground, like they tried to do that with Thanksgiving, Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, and it was like, it's like, no, dude, that just doesn't work. Wes Craven predicted that a decade in advance of the utter explosion of social media. And in addition to that, it works for Ghostface. That's one of the not failings, but the hitches, the drawbacks with Scream 4. I wish they embellished that more, because they spoke so much of it. I wish you got to see more of it. So in addition to that, yeah, I mean, Wes Craven turned a lot of these aspects into damn prophecy. And if we're talking masked maniacs, if Peeping Tom was the first slasher film who had also recorded his murders, Scream Chapter 4 saw Ghostface broadcast a killing spree IRL. Dude, Where is this movie's credit? In addition to my live stream that I'm going to be doing titled You Don't Hate Scream 2022 Enough, I'm also going to be doing a pitch meeting live stream about Scream 4, how I would go about fixing little things here and there in order to make it the classic that it should have been all along. Let's get back to the list. Oh boy, here we go. Scream 2, oy vey. Here's an interesting fun fact. The Scream movie with the highest score at Rotten Tomatoes. It's not the original classic. It's actually Wes Craven's Scream 2 at 83% fresh. Released just 1 year after Scream introduced the world to Ghostface and his meta rules, Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven reunited for Scream 2, a sequel that slashed into the bloody heart of, well, sequels. Despite the quick turnaround that gave Williamson and Craven little time to plan for the franchise's expansion, Scream 2 proved that the original movie was anything but a fluke. Part 2 was a fluke. And we have the second installment to thank for ensuring that Scream wasn't just a couple of movies, but a full-blown franchise. I don't know what the difference is. The film earned $172 million in 1997, almost the very same box office total of its predecessor 1 year prior. And the film has clearly held up in years since. No, it hasn't. Even 7 movies deep, most Scream fans agree that the first and second films are the cream of the crop for this particular franchise on this list. Scream 2 is second only to the original. Now, this is the installment that I had the most to say. It always struck me as bizarre that Scream 2, I don't know, I guess it's just a coincidence, but Scream 2 just replaces dead characters from Part 1 with black actors for Part 2. The cameraman and the best friend. Now, I liked the best friend. I liked who the actress that they chose to play her. They just didn't do enough with her. She's just kind of there. And she was a word, like, I don't know, maybe it's because I like that actress more than the character she really played. Elise Neal, she plays Hallie. She's just there. She's not given much to do. But like the energy, the spirit of that character is very lively. I just wish they gave her something to do. She was a worthy successor to Tatum from the original. So yeah, it struck me as odd that she really is just there when she could have been so much more. What else? Randy is not a fan favorite that this franchise has always thought he was and borderline insisted that he was. Like, Jamie Kennedy is annoying. And to be honest, the first movie, the first Scream, never needed 2 comedic reliefs. I felt like Stu was good. And I don't know, maybe they needed Randy just to introduce the rules, but is like introducing the rules, like being the film buff. Is that like to really try to wrap your head around something? You're telling me that in and of itself is an entire character? Like, it's not enough to validate his existence, if we're being honest. And oh my god, what do we get out of Randy? The Mindy character, oof. Rewatching the first one, I mean, what people know, rewatching the opening to Scream 2, and what people know about Jada Pinkett, let's just say that I, for one, rewatched Screams 2 and 3 in preparation. Hell, I even saw Scream 4 in preparation for this live stream. Let's just say that, considering what we know about Will Smith's husband there, yeah, we're rooting for Ghostface in that opening film. The stunt casting with Buffy and Pacey from Dawson's Creek. I mean, honestly, what type of name is Pacey? It's a combo of two girls' names, Patty and Tracy. They're pointless inserts. They do nothing. They're not memorable kills. These are not interesting. Like Pacey's is there for a cup of coffee. He's a blink and you missed it. But he was in like other teen films at the time. Like what was it? Oh god, Urban Legends, and one of the J horror movies. It was oh god, like if we had to get rid of either him or Josh Hartnett, I guess I'm glad that he got filtered out. But yeah, Butter Cheeks over there was utterly pointless, and so was Sarah Michelle Gellar. No, yo, you talk about like how does this article talk about lame reveals in your villain, and yet no one recognized the mother of Billy Loomis because she lost weight. It's like you're telling me that Gail Storm, who wrote a book on all of this, you're telling me that this Billy Loomis's mom is just showing up as a reporter. She's all over the place. She was never brought in for questioning. This was like a major event according to the Scream mythos, and no one knows, like no search for her, and she's like traipsing around the same campus where Sydney is, not even trying to conceal herself. And again, no one recognizes her. None of the Woodsboro, none of the kids from Woodsboro, not Doofy, nobody. Like, no, man, that just doesn't work. And again, what did I mention? You have to have the audience has to have some kind of investment in the villain before the reveal. And after the reveal, they have to still be whatever screen time is left. You have to really drill home what a merciless person that they are, or how crazy they are. You get none of that with the reveal. I don't even remember her name. The reveal of Billy Loomis's mother was just corny, and it's like, okay, obviously that ties back to the first movie, but in the context of Scream 2, what is this character? She's nothing. And then her accomplice, oh god, that again, you had two bad reveals in Scream 2. This article is full of one of the problems being the lackluster pulling back the mask and seeing who's behind the murders. You both of the killers in Scream 2 suffer from that problem. So it's funny to me that no one has noticed this. No one has mentioned that. Not even this article. That's a bit odd to me. Yeah, and the other killer was the start of what would be a long list of lame villain reveals. They really tried to portray Deputy Dewdrop as Sydney's protector.
Bitch, please! How much we gonna rock? Then we gonna roll? Then we let it pop? Don't let it go! X gon' give it to you.
Boy, that gimp that he had sure only lasted one movie before he, croaked. Scream 2 and 3 majorly dropped the ball with Cotton Weary. If there were two people who should have connected on a deep level, it should have been Sydney and Cotton, because both of their lives were adversely impacted by the two killers of the first Scream movie, and they were both used, like, in horrible ways. So, if Scream 3 was just going to bump off Cotton Weary like he was a nobody, Scream 2 should have... he comes off as, like, this attention-seeking media parasite. Like, I don't... the audience is supposed to sympathize with this person, but the writers never did, which is very odd. And what was the point of the boyfriend singing on the lunchroom table? That was such a dumb scene from Scream 2. Jerry O'Connell was, gosh, he was such a 90s and forgettable choice. He was such a 90s guy and forgettable choice as the boyfriend. To me, Scream 2 close enough to the first original so that it rode off of the wave of the first film, and Scream 3 sucked so bad that Part 2 is better by comparison. Scream 2's meager positives are exaggerated by its proximity to Part 1, and its pitfalls are eclipsed by Part 3. So, with with all that being addressed as far as my takes on Scream 2, as well as the even-numbered Scream movies, let's close out this article read with the original. Scream 1, 1996. Of course, the winner of Bloody Disgusting's definitive ranking of the first Scream franchise is Wes Craven's Scream, which simply has not been topped in the 30 years since it helped usher in a whole new breed of horror movie. While not the first self-referential horror movie to put a meta twist on the genre, Craven beat himself to the punch a couple of years prior with New Nightmare. What did I say? It's certainly the most accessible, successful, and downright best to ever do it. Even 30 years later, there are very few horror movies that are cut above the original Scream. And it's clear you guys agree with that assessment. It's the film that started it all, from turning a simple Halloween mask into a decade-spanning horror icon to establish characters like Sidney, Billy, Stu, Tatum, and Randy that still rank high among the most beloved in the genre's history. Scream wasn't just another slasher movie. It was a horror movie that was in on the joke, and for many fans, it has been an entry point into all that the horror genre has to offer. There's a reason the franchise is still embracing the iconic nostalgia of the original meta slasher even 30 years later, with Kevin Williamson's Scream 7 absolutely chock full of reverence for the horror classic he and the late Wes Craven mastermind together all those years ago. It's not just the best Scream movie, it's one of the best horror movies of all time. 30 years later, 30 years, 7 movies, nothing beats the original. So, that was my reading of the Bloody Disgusting ranking for all 7 Scream movies. A lot of surprises there. I genuinely did not expect them to rank the recent trilogy 5 through 7 so low. I'm happy that, again, Bloody Disgusting themselves were the ones to mention how the Scream 6 was basically a perfect movie. Read 'em and weep. So, I realized that this ranking was more fan-generated than from the writers, the critics that work for the website, but still, what what does it say about the disparity between critic and audience that only now, and God, again, they mention, the tastes have soured on Scream 6. It's like, in recent years, soured? Recent years? That movie came out in 2023. It's 2026. What the hell are you talking about? But hey, I'm glad that it is recognized as a bottom bitch, because it is. It just is not any good. And it's not just because the Sidney Prescott character is no longer part of these entries. It's like, nah, dude, the film has a whole lot more wrong with it than that. But I'm happy that Scream 4, if this was fan generated, I'm glad that Scream 4 is getting some recognition, because it absolutely deserves it. And I've made no bones about it. I've done a watch party. I have always championed Scream 4. I think, as I've always said, it's a great payoff with not much setup. That's one of the few things holding it back. Now, I went through a couple of different videos that I have done on these Scream movies. I invite you to take a look at my Scream 5 review, take a look at my Scream 6 Requiem of a Scream, When Scream 6 came out, I did a comparison between that film and Evil Dead Rise, which I believe that was my first time that I had christened my segment of my channel called A Tale of Two Series between Scream 7 and Evil Dead Rise, which I would invite you to take a look at. I have done a recent live stream called Scream 4, the trilogy non-starter. And as I mentioned during this live stream, I think that I'm going to be doing a catalog, a checklist of why you don't hate Scream 5 enough. Because, man, that movie is cheeks. And, spoiler alert, one of the reasons why I hate Scream 5 and 6 so much is because of what this article mentioned, how starting with Scream 5, carrying on to Scream 6, one of the directives of writing those two movies was to attack the toxic fan base, which, I hate to break it to you, you're just attacking the fans. And that's not the job of a Scream movie. And it's again, I don't think that people hate those movies enough, because how are you going to, especially with a franchise like Scream, how are you going to use it, among other things, amongst glazing Ryan, what was his name? The director of the crappy Last Jedi. How are you going to use Rian Johnson? They used Scream 5 and 6 to glaze Rian Johnson and Jordan Peele? I was like, what are we doing here? So, those live streams are going to be coming out soon. It will be titled "You Don't Hate Scream 5 Enough," and my pitch meeting where I would fix small details and missing ingredients for Scream 4. So, that brings us to the end of this live stream. So, what do I have in store for you fine fiends? What have I been working on recently? Let's check what's on the scene. So, recently I have done a precaution movie preview and aftershock reaction video to the Ready or Not 2 film, which, considering that its opening weekend box office was just slightly over 9 million, yeah, I think this franchise is a non-starter. I did a overcast, which is my reaction video to both Hellraiser Developer Diaries 1 and 2. The first one was called The Vision. The second one was called Origins. I would invite you to take a look at. I did a playthrough of the survival horror game Crisol Theater of Idols, which I will be mentioning more of in just a bit. Keeping the topic on Scream, I did a live stream of the interview that writer Kevin Williamson did discussing his original plans for Scream 4 through 6. It's called Scream 4, the trilogy non-starter. I invite you to take a look at that. In addition to that, I also did a Scream 7 precaution and aftershock videos. That was my preview before I headed out to watch that crappy sequel and my impressions upon returning from the theater. And finally, I did a Tale of Two series, Scream 7 versus Resident Evil 9. So it just so happens that both of those landmark franchises, despite one being a movie, the other one being a video game, both celebrate 30 years this year. And we are fresh off of the Resident Evil 30th anniversary as of this Sunday. I would invite you to take a look at that. Again, title is A Tale of Two Series, Scream 7 versus Resident Evil 9, because there's actually, I go into detail, there's actually a lot more that those two franchises have in common that remarkably have remained at what I have in store for coming attractions. this actually is not the only live stream I'll be doing today. Later today, in about an hour or so, I will be playing my Crisol Theater of Idols live stream 2.0. Tomorrow, I want to do a video that I have been wanting to do for a little while, which is my redemption video that, not that I needed or sought vindication, but now that Resident Evil 9 has been out for a little while and people have gotten their taste of it and seemingly they played it, got excited, and now it's like on to the next thing. I want, and not just that, but details that I had predicted. That shout out to one of my subscribers. He commented. We had a nice conversation over my Tale of Two series. No, I'm sorry, not my Tale of Two series. My Resident Evil Asinine remarks where I predicted a lot of repetition and a lot of member berries in this latest sequel. I predicted that in a video about a year ago, and he reminded me not just that I made the video, but that a lot of my predictions came true. A lot of nostalgia baiting and a lot of rehashing and recycling of old ideas. For instance, the Crimson Heads versus these Splinter Heads. Ugh, just terrible stuff, man. It's just Capcom should know better, but unfortunately, just as I was talking about with Scream, we also get a lot of requels in the modern day gaming. So I'm going to be doing a video probably tomorrow where I vindicate myself of everything that I had been expecting all along from this franchise, or from this franchise installment. Tomorrow also I'll be playing Reanimal. I posted a YouTube short as a trailer promoting my what I call Dual Shocks, which is playing two separate survival horror games in one week. So I hope you enjoy that post that I did earlier. And like I said, I'll be doing my Resident Evil reaction video to RE9 tomorrow, as well as playing Reanimal, a live stream of that. Let's see. I am going to be getting to my Wayans Brothers Scary Movie interview. I just need to do some editing on that front. And I want to do a coroner's report where I discuss topics within horror, and I want to be discussing recent remakes news, especially how that Buffy remake is going. Oh boy. And finally, I want to do a gut. I'll be getting to a gut reaction to the Mummy teaser, Lee Cronin's The Mummy trailer, as well as the Scary Movie 6 trailer. So a lot of good stuff on the way coming from yours truly. And I think that's pretty much it for me. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video. Please take a gander at the other videos that I have done recently and the other ones that I've done that I mentioned surrounding the Scream franchise that I've touched on. Therefore, I've been Inkarnate, reminding you, I ain't just a big deal, I'm the real deal. If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.